Interesting statistics about how safe Omaha drivers feel on the road was brought to light, and that's why the Metropolitan Area Planning Agency is looking how to make our streets safer.
MAPA, for short, released some early survey results as part of its Safe Streets for All project. 6 News' Philip Katafamo took a deeper dive into the concerns drivers have.
MAPA, or the Metropolitan Area Planning Agency, is exploring how to make our roads safer.
And really looking at the way that our communities shape traffic safety, how our behavior, how our design, how our community services all work to make our communities safer. And this survey is an opportunity for people to drop a pin on the map and tell us about their concerns.
Since July, MAPA has been polling residents in the greater Omaha-Council Bluffs metro area. Early survey results show 65% of safety concerns are reported at intersections. 57% of those surveyed feel unsafe as a driver, 56% of respondents felt unsafe due to speeding, and 29% felt unsafe as a pedestrian, citing many driver behaviors as a worry.
Crossing distances, so the width of streets came up, the availability or presence of a crosswalk, but then also just, driver behavior, people not slowing down, people not yielding to pedestrians, high speeds, red light running, all things that impact that feeling of safety for people who are outside of a vehicle.
Helgerson says post-COVID, there has been an increase in drivers traveling at high speeds. He says during COVID, less people were on the roads, but as traffic has returned, those behaviors have persisted, something MAPA hopes to reduce.
It's really just a managing of people's expectations, reinforcing good and safe driving behaviors rather than some of the things that we've seen here on the heels of the pandemic and our recovery from it.
Helgerson says MAPA will hold a few public meetings in February or March to share its results so far. Once the project is complete, they will work with Douglas, Potawatomi, and Sarpy County officials about a safety plan. They will focus on what they call a high priority network, a data-driven process to see what areas see the most trouble and why, along with a look at a few potential policy changes.
A big part of this is going to be implemented through local policy. So we're going to be going out and doing some jurisdictional visits and some potential memorandums of understanding to get communities signed on to these safe system principles, and ultimately hoping to guide and shape infrastructure investment at a much bigger level.
On your side in Omaha, Philip Katafamo, 6 News.
MAPA plans to continue its survey until next April. A link can be found with this story on our website, WOWT.com.